Okay, this piece is really, really ambitious, and it's a lot of detail that you're pursuing for someone who has probably done only a handful of 3/4 views. Because of this problem, your proportions are completely off. This is where the eye should be. All right? No, this eye is right. It's everything else that is wrong. And if everything else looks wrong to you, that's because everything else is placed wrong. See how you're showing me the inside instead of the outside of the eyelid? In 3/4 view, we see more of the area that is closest to us. The outside part, so this outer corner of the upper eyelid, is more visible than the inner corner. Seeing more of the outer corner, less of the inner corner. I get that this is makeup, so fine, I won't bug you about the under eyelid makeup, but where is the lower eyelid crease? If she doesn't have one, that's not an excuse. Have one. Make sure all your characters are catering. Their feature types are catering to your education. Some people don't have lower eyelids and they're just puffy, or it's a hooded eye. But for your educational, benefit, make sure you are showing one off. Too many beginner mistakes totaling up to that you spending all this time on the detail. God bless you. You had to have a lot of patience, but it's a waste of time. It's all line dependent anyway. Form studies that get more complicated, more detailed, will help prepare you for how to really show an actual fold in fabric, an actual little design in the armor or the plating, how to actually layer plates with real cast shadows and real core shadows. That's what form studies will prepare you for. If it was a 14-day challenge under my supervision, I'd never let you do under eyelid makeup because you're hiding the waterline, which is such a beautiful part of the eye. It actually shows one of the only eyelids that is always looking in the direction where we can see the thickness of the eyelid. Then there's the three-dimensional shape of the eyeball itself, radially climbed. And if you don't know what radial shading is and you're new to my channel, and I understand if you're new, these are all mistakes that are made by watching other channels. These are mistakes that are not fixed by watching. I'm not really sure what other channels are doing nowadays, but if you were my student, and by my student you're my follower, you know very well what my opinions are on radial shading, how constantly I talk about it, smudging as the best way of blending. These are the common words of our discourse community. If you want to do this with the same speed I'm doing, constantly, always address the perspective in the 3/4 view. And if you don't know what that is, do a trace over diagram. You don't know what a trace over diagram is, go to my videos. Do a video search history, write trace over diagrams, and there's an hour talking about what trace over diagrams are all about. You need to start replacing your symbol with a full-on functional diagram of what an eyeball does in its volume, what exactly is happening. All right, where all the fat layers, where the crease sits, where the eyebrow sits, where these massive contour lines are, these grid lines that sit on top of the face. All right, these are trace over diagrams, functional drawings, medical diagrams of the layers and the components, functional components or function components of the eyeball. And that way you're tricking your mind into remembering things as a functional diagram, but with still lines. And then just replacing your lines with edges has everything to do with how much time you're investing in your 14-day challenge or your form studies after. Way too much floating randomness, blotches everywhere. Nose didn't really have much rotation, but I didn't work on the nose. No expression. No relation to that little object she's holding. I'm just going to do one last little change here for that glamour. That's really very important for pinups, is that eyebrow that you'll pick up soon. Things are starting to look more realistic. The forehead, because we increased the size of the face, the forehead needs a little bit more space on it. You might want to open up the eyes a bit more if she's a devious warrior. She's got that really open-eyed glare. So before, very plain, simple face. Makes me angry. Because I know that with a couple of studies, really focused 2 week, 3 week, I'm not talking about like years and years. I'm talking about a 2 week, 3 week regimen of traceover diagrams, form studies, breaking apart all the major functional components of the eye into its most simple native geometry. And then you start, you know, when you figure that out, you get more comfortable with all those regions as islands. You'll start combining them together as one thing, which is the face. You'll be able to render this quickly and better. Before, after. This is a character who we want to know. This is a character who we want to learn more about. Where you were before, the character was so distant from us, we really didn't know what we were doing, what the character was all about. Of course, the other eye isn't very well rendered right now, so I don't have time to do it all. But when you're grayscaling, you can bring in that yellow shimmer as a white with dodge tool. Just be careful with dodge tool. And someone's asked me before, why is dodge tool so dangerous? Because it exponentially raises your values up. It doesn't linearly raise them up.